They stole my identity and ruined my life, and they were my family. That afternoon, I was wrapping up my final client meeting at the law firm in downtown Chicago when my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, but it showed a bank name. I answered. "Hello, this is Brad Coleman from Horizon First Bank. I need to verify some information regarding a mortgage loan for a property at 720 Glenwood Drive." I blinked. Glenwood Drive? I didn't own any property there. "You must have the wrong person," I replied politely. "I've never had any loans tied to that address." Brad paused. "I understand your surprise, Ms. Carter, but your name, Emma Carter, is listed as the co-signer. The primary applicant is Madison Carter, your sister." I froze. My pen slipped from my hand and hit the desk. "Madison? No. That couldn't be right." "That's impossible," I said. "I never signed anything related to my sister's loan." "I understand, but the loan was approved 7 months ago. All documents carry your signature. Your parents brought the paperwork to the branch themselves." I sat in stunned silence as images flashed through my head. Mom's nervous glance at Christmas, their strange behavior during Dad's birthday, and the time they casually asked me to sign health insurance forms. My voice steadied. "I need copies of all the paperwork." Brad promised to email them. "But there's another issue. The loan is more than 2 months overdue. The balance is over $178,000. I couldn't breathe. As soon as the call ended, I dialed Alex, my best friend since college and a civil attorney. The moment he answered, I blurted out, "They forged my signature. My parents, Madison, all of them." "I'm on my way," he said. When Alex arrived, we opened Brad's email. There it was, my name, my signature, and unmistakably, my mother's handwriting mimicking the loop I use at the end of the A in Emma. "They didn't even try to hide it," Alex said, jaw tight. "This is fraud." Then my phone rang. It was Mom. "Answer it," Alex said. "Try to stay calm." I picked up. "Hi, Mom." "Sweetheart, are you free tonight? Your dad's making spaghetti and meatballs." I nearly laughed. "Perfect. Because I wanted to talk to you about a very interesting call I just got from Horizon Bank." Silence. Then, "I was going to tell you soon. Really, Madison needed help and you're doing so well." "So you forged my signature?" I snapped. "Do you realize I could lose my job, my law license?" "You're overreacting," she said. "We're family. Families help each other." "No," I replied. "Families ask. They don't steal." That night, I went to their house. Madison was there. So were my parents. I laid out every document, the mortgage, the forged credit cards, the $50,000 loan, even the investment account used as collateral. Madison cried. My dad said, "You already have everything, career, money. Madison just needed a start." "And you thought that justified identity theft?" I asked, voice shaking. "I believed you'd understand," Mom whispered. "I might have, if you had asked. Instead, you built an empire of lies with my name." Then Alex uncovered something worse. 3 credit cards, all maxed out, in my name, an unsecured loan, and even worse, my identity had been used to create a fake investment fund called River Pine Growth Fund. My financial profile had been replicated, name, credentials, even fake email exchanges showing me as the fund manager. All to scam others, many of whom were my parents' friends, even my former teacher. Over $2 million had passed through these accounts. Some of it came from Helen Ward, my high school teacher, who had believed in the image of Emma Carter, the financial genius. She'd invested her entire retirement. "I trusted your mother," she said. "I trusted you." My heart shattered. Now, with Alex and Solstice James, our financial investigator, we're preparing a case for the Federal Investigation Office. We're freezing accounts, filing fraud reports, and compiling a full list of victims. My family didn't just steal money. They stole my identity, my career, my reputation, and they used it to hurt others. I used to believe family meant safety, but now I know. Family doesn't mean unconditional access. It doesn't mean sacrificing your future to fix their mistakes. It means love with respect. And without that, I have no choice but to walk away and fight back. They called it family. I called it fraud. The morning we launched the case, I stood in front of a whiteboard covered in sticky notes, victim names, transaction dates, dollar amounts. It wasn't just chaos, it was a blueprint for a massive fraud operation, and my name was right in the middle of it. "How much time do we have?" I asked. "Not much," Alex replied. "They're panicking. Wait too long, and the money vanishes, offshore, untraceable." I clenched my fists. "Then we start now." That same morning, I walked into Hallage Bank headquarters with Alex and Solstice James, our financial investigator. We were armed, with a thick file of evidence: IP logs, forged emails, fraudulent statements. Frank Delaney, the branch manager, looked uneasy when he saw us. "I just met with your parents," he said cautiously. "They're claiming you're trying to ruin the family name. They even mentioned suing you for defamation." I placed the folder on his desk. "Then I suggest you look at what I brought." Frank started reading. As his eyes moved over the documents, emails, signatures, wire transfers to offshore accounts, his face drained of color. He stopped cold at the IP address report. "All this was done from their home?" he asked. Solstice nodded. "Same laptop, same devices, even the same browser history." "I'll escalate this immediately," Frank said stiffly. "All related accounts will be frozen pending investigation." Less than an hour later, 2 plainclothes officers arrived, Inspector Hope and Deputy Morales. "Ms. Carter, thank you for your cooperation," Hope said. "We've reviewed everything. It's time." "We didn't have to hunt them down. Frank called my parents and Madison under the pretense of needing clarification on paperwork. They showed up without hesitation, confident, smiling." "Frank, I'm so glad you called," my mother said, as if she were walking into a brunch. "We thought it best to sort this out with Emma." I didn't respond. I pushed the file across the table. "This contains evidence of identity theft, financial fraud, and federal violations," I said, "committed by the 3 of you." Silence fell. Madison's eyes widened. My mom frantically flipped through the folder. My father's face turned red. "Emma," he growled, "what do you think you're doing?" "I'm stopping you from destroying my life, and the lives of at least 14 victims. You're going to put your family in jail over a few mistakes?" Mom barked. "No," I said calmly. "I'm holding criminals accountable." That's when the officers stepped forward. "Gordon Carter, Helen Carter, Madison Carter, you're under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and operating an unlicensed investment scheme." Madison began sobbing. "I didn't know about the offshore accounts. I just helped Mom and Dad convince people." Morales interrupted. "Anything you say now may be used in court." As they were led away, my mother turned to me. "You'll regret this. Families don't do this to each other." I said nothing. I didn't feel hatred. I felt free. The trial. The courtroom was packed the day their trial began. I sat in the front row, gripping my statement like it was the only thing keeping me upright. Across from me sat 3 people who had once defined the word home. Now they looked like strangers in gray suits. The defense clung to predictable excuses: family pressure, poor decisions, financial stress. But the prosecutor's voice was steady and sharp. This was not a moment of desperation. It was an organized, deliberate scheme. They weaponized their daughter's success to build trust, only to exploit it. When I was called to testify, I spoke not just as a victim, but as a lawyer. I presented every forged document, every fraudulent transaction, every IP address that pointed to my childhood home. They didn't just betray me, I said, voice steady. They turned me into a weapon, a brand they used to manipulate others. Then came the photos. My mom in designer dresses, my dad golfing in Florida, taken the same week thousands were stolen from retirees and family friends. And Madison? She'd used my resume to apply for jobs, my bar license, my e-signature. No one doubted her guilt after that. The judge took his time. When he finally spoke, you could hear a pin drop. Gordon Carter, 18 years, no parole for 10. Helen Carter, 15 years. Madison Carter, 12 years, barred for life from financial institutions. Their assets were seized for restitution. Offshore accounts would be pursued through the FBI. As they were led out of court, Madison looked at me one last time. "I'm sorry," she whispered. But I knew she wasn't sorry it happened, only that she got caught. Aftermath. A week later, I returned to work at Rothman and Lindley with a new purpose. I was no longer Emma Carter, the dutiful daughter. I was a survivor, and I wasn't alone. 2 days after sentencing, the firm's board invited me to lead a new initiative, Reclaim and Rise, a support program for victims of family-based financial abuse. "No one is more qualified than you," the CEO wrote, "not just because you understand the law, but because you've lived it." I said yes. In our first week, we launched a hotline and a website. Within days, we had over 300 messages, from retirees, students, single parents, all betrayed, all alone. One woman, 67, sobbed into the phone. "I gave my son everything I had. He vanished. I lost my home." I told her the truth. No one is weak for trusting someone they love. But rising again, that's real strength. New beginnings. Eventually, I returned to my parents' old home to gather what remained. The photos on the walls fell.